Coming up tonight, major delays at the country's main port of entry today. We'll tell you why.
And you want to hear the story of this homeless family.
Also, hear what an officer had to say about the role he played in subduing a suspect. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kendino Knowles.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. Like always, it's good to have you joining us.
The faulty electrical breaker at the country's main port of entry is to blame for that power outage and delays at the airport early this morning.
We're told that ongoing preventative maintenance was being carried out to the facility's electrical systems, including generators, and that's when the commercial power was intentionally disconnected to ensure that all generators kick in.
Now, all of the generators started. However, Airport Development Company officials say the breaker in the U.S. terminal, which was serviced yesterday, failed. As a result, there was no power to that area, causing a major computer glitch and lots of delays. That power failure took place around 6 o'clock this morning, and about an hour and a half later, supply was restored. However, the computer system did not come back up until 10:25.
Well, our Janaea Noel Ferguson visited the airport this morning, and she talked to a number of passengers.
Operations moved a bit slower in Terminal C at LPIA this morning as flights were backed up for hours due to a power failure. And for these travelers, it was not a pleasant experience as a manual check-in took much longer. The failure also caused the computer system to remain down, so there was no flight information available for passengers.
Quite frustrating, standing in line for a long time, not knowing whether we'll ever get on, whether to get off the island today. I think most people that are flying on Delta have connections in Atlanta, so it's a very stressful experience not knowing whether we'll make our connections or not.
You just have to manually do everything, move your baggage, and they didn't really give you no updates, so.
While airport technicians worked to get the computer systems back up, there were long lines as travelers experienced some delay.
We came in, it was a big crowd, but I think Bahamas had an agent out. So as soon as we came through the door, she explained that the system was down and was apologizing for the delay. And shortly after that, the line started to move.
I didn't know earlier that there was a power shortage, so it didn't affect me in that regard. But since I got here, the line seemed to be, I was surprised how long the line is, but it seemed to be moving quite steadily.
Yeah, it surprised me, but these things happen. We don't have no control over that.
And even the nation's leader experienced some delays as a result of the outage. He lamented that with a multi-million-dollar investment like the new airport terminal, NAD officials must ensure that a backup system is in place.
This is a major $400 million investment, and we must demonstrate greater degrees of efficiency in this regard, because, when travelers get, annoyed, it is a difficulty.
Now, officials from the Nassau Airport Development Company say they will be conducting an investigation to find out the true cause of the outage. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Bahamas Electricity Corporation says it wants to set this record straight tonight, stating that it's not responsible for that power failure at LPIA this morning. BEC maintains that the temporary loss of power to the airport was due to a failure of equipment owned and operated by NAD, and that a controlled shutdown of the airport supply was requested.
New details emerging in the Jamie Smith coroner's inquest. A police detective testified today about the events that took place shortly before Smith's death back on February 8th. 36-year-old Smith was found dead in a cell at the Central Detective Unit. A pathologist found that he died from a lack of oxygen. Fern Carey tells us more.
Detective Corporal Brian Roach told the court while on duty at CDU back on February 8th, he accompanied Sergeant Keno Smith as he collected Jamie Smith, also known as Matthew Pratt and Dodger, from the holding cell for questioning. Roach said Smith was taken to Inspector Ezra Maycock's office and he returned to his duties in the General Investigation Section. A short while later, however, Roach said he heard a loud noise and Smith cursing and saying, "I'm not going to jail for those sissy niggers who putting all the blame on me." At the same time, he said Smith was swinging at Inspector Maycock and kicking his legs. Roach said Inspector Maycock and Smith started to struggle, and he saw Inspector Maycock holding the suspect across the waist. He said Detective Smith was also holding the suspect's legs. Seconds later, Roach said he went into the office and put his right arm around the suspect's neck in a sleeper hold for a few seconds, noting that his intention was not to choke or injure Jamie Smith, but to restrain him. He testified that Inspector Maycock then yelled, "Get some cuffs," as Inspector Knowles appeared at the door, while Officer Smith was still trying to hold the suspect and attempting to handcuff him. A short while later, Roach said they all fell on a desk, then the floor, and that's where Jamie Smith was cuffed and shackled. However, he said they were all gasping for breath as well. A short while later, Roach said Jamie Smith sat up against a chair and put his hands to his face, saying, "I'm not going to jail." Roach said Jamie Smith appeared to be in a daze and they tried to get him to respond by shaking him without success. Roach said he left the room without knowing that Smith had died. When asked by attorney Christina Galanos during cross-examination if it was acceptable on the police force for an officer to restrain a suspect holding them by the neck, Roach said he was never told that it was not. However, he said he was aware that if you put a suspect in a sleeper hold, you should be able to resuscitate him. However, Roach said he was not trained to do that. He also indicated that he had received minimum training in restraint tactics on the police force and had received other training in martial arts. And when his attorney Wayne Monroe questioned why he had not just shot Jamie Smith, as he had a handgun at the time, Roach said his job was to preserve life, not to take it. The inquest has been adjourned to June 21st. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Well, the mother of alleged murder victim Marco Archer, Trifina Meadows, was expected to continue giving evidence today in the Kofi Goodman murder trial. However, that matter has been pushed back to Friday after a juror didn't show up. Yesterday, Meadows testified that she searched everywhere and called everyone she knew when Marco didn't return home after going to the store back in September 2011. Meadows said she also went to the police station early the next morning to file a report and provide police with a picture of the missing child. She testified that she gave birth to Marco when she was 40 years old, noting that he wasn't just her son, but her friend. Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Garvin Gaskin, along with attorney Neil Brathwaite and attorney Darrell Taylor, are prosecuting the case. Attorney Jeffrey Farquharson is defending Goodman.
A judge has granted bail to 33-year-old Jamaican national Conrad Campbell. You may recall that Campbell was arraigned last Monday on 4 drug charges in connection with the drug bust at Lynden Pinland International Airport a few weeks ago. Campbell, who was initially on the run from police, is accused of conspiring with former police officer and mother of one 27-year-old Tony Sweeting and her 33-year-old brother, beauty pageant director Delano Sweeting, to possess cocaine and to export it from the Bahamas. The trio is also accused of having the cocaine with the intent of supplying it to others and taking preparatory steps to export the dangerous drugs. Allegations they all deny. Now, Tony Sweeting was denied bail last week by Senior Justice John Isaacs. However, her brother Delano was granted $20,000 bail with reporting conditions by the same judge. Meantime, Campbell, who is a permanent resident of the Bahamas, was granted $20,000 bail with 2 sureties and reporting conditions by Justice Bernard Turner yesterday. Campbell, Tony Sweeting, and Delano Sweeting will return to court in October for trial.
In our first look at weather, a mid-level trough over a portion of the northwest Bahamas and a surface trough down in the southeast Bahamas will fire up 1 or 2 showers and thunderstorms during the course of the night. But outside of our studios, we have mostly cloudy skies. Your temperature is 77 degrees, relative humidity 84%, winds out of the northeast at 8 knots. Your barometric pressure 1,019.0 millibars, is 30.09 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the Family Violence travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Still to come, high achievers are honored for their accomplishments.
And we'll take a closer look at the transformation of Montague Beach. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell HELIX Ultra. Performance you can see.